I'm Jake Living Payne, the man behind the Conversation Project and things you might have heard here on this channel. And we are asking you, straight up asking you, for your help. We need your assistance to keep this project going. And in the next 15 seconds, I'm just going to allow you to find a way to learn about yourself. We're going to be very, very unaggressive and ask you to stop by our website. Go to thisisaconversationproject.com. The plea. Click on the plea. Click on that link there, and you find out more about this plea right here for your assistance. And this plea right here is for your sticking around for our things you might have heard for Thursday, April 28th, 2022. My name is Jay Cleveland Payne, and here we are again doing this whole thing, trying to talk about the most conversational stories vetted by you people out there along the internet, telling us what stories are interesting that may not be top hits, headline news. Trust me, we got a lot of that today. And that just are good for the general chatter. We're going to give you 6 stories today of randomish import, some really, really important, some pretty much not important at all, but things that you can use for your water cooler talk around the day. For more information about what goes on behind the scenes at the Conversation Project and about that plea thing I just talked about, check out thisisaconversationproject.com, our main website, and you can enjoy all the spoils from there. So let's get into this as we provide for you as your official news side piece, tertiary news that is not the tops, but maybe number one in your heart. Story number one. It's a story that I took a lot of time explaining because I had me sitting basically in, ground zero of the event. Juneteenth Soul Food Festival canceled in Arkansas after all-white panel of hosts revealed. Salon.com pulled this story out nationally, but apparently the Facebook is a pretty terrible place to be because this one traveled the world pretty quickly. Like I say, bad news travels twice as fast as good news does, and this is one that happened. And so here is sort of the not quite download skinny behind it because I'm not really behind the scenes on this, but there's a lot of factors in this that because of my background in media and knowing some of these people involved, got into this. You've probably seen the flyer that went out about the Juneteenth Soul Food Festival at War Memorial Stadium in Little Rock on June 17th, Friday, June 17th. So mark that as part one of the saga here. Officiated by 3 prominent people in publishing and media here in Central Arkansas and Little Rock. One being a member of a person who's basically an editor, or he is like one of the editors of the main paper for the state. One, a media personality, radio and television, does a lot of community things. The other person, the publisher of one of the largest batches of magazines that go across the state. The problem was, if you look at the flyer, it was 3 white people because those people are 3 white people for a Juneteenth celebration, soul food celebration that was happening on June 17th, not June 19th, most likely because the holiday will probably fall on a Friday this year. That's probably the day that it'll be celebrated as a holiday. It's a brand new holiday as of last year. If you remember, Biden signed it on Thursday. We all had Friday off. It's that new of a holiday. So a promoter wanted to try to basically up the ante in the Juneteenth celebration and bring in some media friends, bring in some favors, bring in some people, and have a great big old thing for charity. This was a paid event or a for charity event, raising money for some foundations, some groups around town that do things for African Americans and for Juneteenth and for historical value. The problem was the flyer that everybody saw was a proof for the event. The event was not quite planned yet. It is only April, by the way, but it was a proof for the flyer. And a lot of the people that were named on that, the people that were named on that who were going to speak were confirmed. The people that were named and the groups that are named as sponsors and contributors to the point weren't not. In fact, some of the places on there were the traditional Mosaic Templars Cultural Center, which actually always has a massive Juneteenth ceremony every Juneteenth at its facility and around its their general area. I do feel sort of like a hostage situation. We'll get into that in a bit as well. So I got hit up by a lot of folks on all this stuff because, like say, hey Jay, you know people in media, you're in Little Rock. What is going on down there? What it turns out to be, and I don't know the man in charge of setting up the event, is a well-intentioned person who wanted to really do something good and up the ante on the Juneteenth celebration now that it's national, if you will, and actually raise some money for some good causes who just picked the wrong people to be on the flyer and picked the wrong people to obviously make the flyer because it leaked out and caused a whole bunch of stink months before the event was actually finalized. No one knew had any idea about this event because it's still April. June is months away. But the original flyer for this one, because this is essentially a corporatized event as opposed to a localized community event, did not do him any justice. So this event will be done. No one knows who the soul food vendors are, or no one in the general public knows what's going on. Like I said, this was preliminary stuff. This was all basic stuff, the early work. So if you're doing this on a professional level, yes, this is stuff you do way ahead of time. And unfortunately, the flyer for the event got leaked way ahead of time. So that means no event, for good or for ill. If you want to chat this thing up in private, hit me up. We can talk some things that I might know on the slide, but trust me, I'm no insider. This is just from piecing together some folks, piecing together some things, talking to a couple people, and just sort of watching the blood rush out of people's faces in real time with the horror of this thing that probably should not have been scheduled the way it was, and definitely should not have been told to us in the manner that it was. Now, let's talk about some serious hostage stuff. That is, Russia and the United States have exchanged prisoners. U.S. officials say Russia released a Marine veteran jailed in Moscow, while the U.S. released a convicted Russian drug trafficker serving in prison sentence in Connecticut. Bad read. Sorry about that. APnews.com is our source of that one. And this was basically because I pulled it off of a Twitter feed and posted it live. And so I didn't have time to edit it because I was on my phone. But here is the deal on this one. There are relations, there are talks, there is back and forth with still with Russia and United States with the political prisoners or hostages or whatever you want to call them that they're being held there by Americans. An American was released yesterday, American Marine who's been in custody for quite some time, dealing with declining health and possible exposure to tuberculosis, because a lot of that runs in the Russian prisons, was able to be released home in exchange for another person in ill health who's actually just a big time get for the Russians. He was a convicted drug dealer, caught smuggling drugs in the United States as a Russian citizen, and had been taken and had a jail sentence going on for a while. He was also in declining health, so it was basically an exchange for two political prisoners or hostages or real prisoners who had needed health assistance. So we have that going on. Unfortunately, there are still two fairly high level people still being held by Russians. Number one, another political prisoner, not a military officer, but another American who was charged for political stuff, who's been there a little bit longer than the previous person that just released, and also believed to be in ill health. And the other being Brittany Griner, the WNBA basketball star who was picked up for what we think, at least we can determine, having a cannabis-laced vape going through the airport, but was charged with trying to smuggle copious amounts of cannabis apparently back to the States, because that's where she was headed back, because in WNBA basketball season, play starts right now. And if she got as much money as LeBron James, she didn't have to go to Russia to play basketball to get extra change. That's just going out there. So as every so often, we want to bring up the fact that Brittany Griner is in Russian prison, and we don't know much about what's going on. We know advocates have spoken to her. She is doing well considering the situation, but she's still there. One down, two to go. And I'm not sure how many Russian drug dealers we have to trade to get them, but we need to get that done immediately. The USFL released their week 2 numbers for viewership, and things don't look so good. Did you watch week 1 of the USFL? Did you watch the opening game on a Saturday night with the New Jersey Generals and the Birmingham Bandits, or whoever they were? I can't remember what the team was at this point, but I watched the game. It was pretty good football for week 1. I watched a little bit of it on Sunday, the following day, and so it was like, cool, something to watch. And then I got busy week 2, so I didn't really pay much attention to the USFL on week 2. Apparently, no one did. The numbers are out. It don't look good. Numbers dropping dramatically from week 1 to week 2 viewership. Remember, this is not meant to be a replacement in the NFL, obviously, but it's meant to be NFL league style football, at least good enough football to get you through the spring, to give some guys extra chances to get some looks to make a big team. Sort of like, Brittany Griner going to overseas to play a little extra, to make extra chatter. This is one as well, getting a chance to make that big roster by showing off what you can do. But unfortunately, the viewership is what's going to probably kill it. The viewership is essentially what killed off that AAFL, although bad money deals and killing the season early was a problem. Viewership killed the XFL, the last iteration of it, although COVID not allowing people to go into the stands was a big part of it. And so in this time, they're doing everything they can to make this thing work out well, putting in some good stuff from college football, putting in all the good stuff you love from the pros and less of the unfun stuff, and adding in drones. Drone cams are cool. But we're going to see how well this league survives for season 1. Remember, the last 2 seasons of extra football didn't last full seasons for lots of reasons. We'll see if this one can go the full route for this one and whether it will return for the fall, which gives us not a great look for XFL 3.0 coming up next year. Next story to talk about right now, Batman week 1 on HBO Max, bigger than streaming days and day titles. What does that mean? More people watch Batman, the new Batman starring Robert Pattinson, very good movie, by the way, in their houses the first week it came on HBO Max, then went to go see it on the video, or not on the big screens in the theaters for your day and date titles. Basically, on screen, now showing in the theater, only in theaters. This does not bode well for the future of theaters. Future of cinema apparently is fine, but making big money off big budget things and by making people coming to theaters and watch and eat popcorn and drink wine now, because you can get a wine at a movie theater, is an issue. This is something that was already going to be an issue pre-COVID, as streaming was coming more and more of a popular ways of doing stuff, and people were actually building better streaming experiences, home theaters, to take in these things. Now that COVID kept people out of theaters and out of the way for so long, and in order to make any money, the theaters had to, or the studios had to release these things on streaming, or just have 2 years worth of movies backed up. Now there's a weird crossroads of how this thing's going to work out. More people are more willing to wait a little bit to watch the streaming movies, if you will, or watch it again a few times after it's done, than they are to go sit in a theater, not necessarily because they miss a theater experience, but because it's more convenient to watch it at home, and sometimes more nicer. So we will see how this plays out. It's not quite dead yet. Theaters aren't dead yet, and experience is always fun. But as a business model, we're seeing a lot of those being crushed by COVID-19 as well. U.S. no longer in a full-blown pandemic phase, Fauci says. Washington Post gave us that. Actually, who gave us this was an interview that Dr. Fauci did with Axios, just talking about general stuff. And when he did not say the pandemic is over, he's saying after 2 years, vaccines, some pretty good therapeutics, and a lot of people managing common sense, we are no longer in a full-blown pandemic stage. So we are, he doesn't make the call officially on his own. It's just a group committee thing, but right now we're no longer consider ourselves in a pandemic, because we know what's coming and we know how to deal with it. Yes, the virus is still serious. Yes, people are still getting sick. And no, he is not attending the White House Correspondents' Dinner at all, because there's way too many people in the room, and the numbers in Washington, D.C. are way, way, way up. Joe Biden going for the dinner, and that's all. I'm not sure they're going to have a bubble him for that, but that's going to happen. But there's still lots of dangers around COVID-19, but the pandemic phase, it's basically saying it's a pandemic in a global figure that we should be always, panicking about. That part, not so. Still be vigilant, still be careful, but the pandemic word and the pandemic sense of it all is something that we can kind of make our ways off of. And finally, because we're keeping up with Al Pacino being 80-something years old, dating a 28-year-old, Madonna, who is ending her relationship with her, as it says here, toy boy boyfriend, after 3 years together. He 28, she's 63. They no longer together. You can judge however you want to. Anyone in this want to, but we're just, because it's equal coverage. If we're gonna ape down on Al Pacino, and we gotta ape down on Madonna for being old and tired and chasing young. And her kids are like 30, aren't they? I mean, seriously, this This is a problem. This is an issue. This is something that needs to be addressed. Somebody talk to Madonna and walk her off that ledge, please. Let's get to a teaser story today. So to go first, actually, because we're bad at order, let's get to the teaser story and fix that later. I don't know why I keep doing that. All right. So we know that the war in Ukraine, the Ukraine initiative, the Russian invasion is getting pretty freaking real because Russia deploys trained dolphins at Black Sea Naval Base. Satellite images show. Sorry for the slowness. There's nothing wrong. It's just, okay, I can't see this morning because it's really, really tiny type this morning. So the Russians have pulled out the trained dolphins, I'm sorry, not the seals. The seals are for the next initiative, I guess, in the Black Sea or surrounding the Ukraine area in their operations. Do you want to talk about this? Do you think this is real? It's from The Guardian, so you can, disbelieve it just as much as I do. We're going to talk about trained dolphins fighting the war in Ukraine. If you want to, we will discuss that. We'll discuss how that can happen in the feed issue in just a bit. Now we're going to back it up and talk about making some money for this thing, keeping this thing going. And the most important thing, getting you a great night's sleep from Bear Mattress. How can this happen? It's pretty simple. You just go to our link. This is aconversationproject.com/Bear Mattress and see what you can do about getting yourself a brand new mattress for the best sleep you can ever find. Right now, they're offering up to $325 worth of free accessories. You see that right there. And they have 4 different styles of mattress to choose from, not just one old stodgy mattress. You don't have to go slugging around mattress stores and doing whatever. You take you go through the issues. They'll ask you some questions and you order the mattress to your liking. And they'll send it to you in a box. They'll store it on your doorstep. You open the box and the mattress appears when you open that box in your bed. Wait till you put it to your bed, of course, because then you'll have a mattress out in the middle of the yard. And then you can sleep on it for 365 nights and have that long to give it up. By night 365, or actually by night number 2, you won't want to give it up. And 365 is at the point of your moot point. But they'll come get it back from you after a full year if you choose to. Go to thisisaconversationproject.com/Bear Mattress. Thisisaconversationproject.com Bear Mattress. Yes, I do that because I do my radio stuff. I do this stuff like that. Thisisaconversation.com/Bear Mattress. And check out the Bear Mattress. Get the best night's sleep you've ever had starting a week from now when the mattress arrives at your door. So the magic of this thing does allow me to skip. So let's go to the slide we should be at right now. And that is talking about things you might not have heard. Our website can be found at this is conversationproject.com, where you can find information on the Conversation Project, find information on our feeds, which I'll talk about in a minute as well, talk information about our pages for sponsorships and partnerships, and the plea. We're asking for some specific asks to grow this thing. One of those asks is essentially getting some merch. You'll see links to that all over the place as well. But the plea is there as well. Check out thisisaconversationproject.com for more information about what's going on. The feeds, hydration break. Apologies for that. On Facebook and Twitter, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and you can follow our feeds. Every 50 minutes, we pop a news story in there for you to watch. The dolphin story is going to be loading in about an hour, about maybe 40 minutes or 45 minutes or so, in that range of time. So when that story comes up and you want to talk about dolphins fighting the war in Ukraine, you just engage with it. Read it first so you know what we're talking about and what they're talking about. Then like it, love it, hate it, share it, engage with the story. The higher the engagement it gets, the higher chance we get a chance to talk about it. As I say, you are vetting the news for us. We got about 33 news stories that posted overnight between 11 p.m. on 11 p.m. on Monday. On Wednesday, going all the way through Thursday, and then to about 5 a.m. this morning. So we, from those stories as they were ranked, we took the top 15 and I pulled 6 from those to discuss here. And so if you want to get in the right story, make sure you're checking out the feeds, seeing what we're talking about, so you get a sneak peek of what we'll talk about in the morning, and of course have a chance to influence what stories get in there. One of the main reasons why that Arkansas Juneteenth story got in there, because we posted very, very late when I saw it as a national story, was because so many people were engaged in it, and personally that I know they went looking for it when I told them it was going up. Also, if you want to check this thing out 5 days a week, which you probably already are, YouTube is the best place to get it. This is theconversationproject.com/YouTube. Follow so you subscribe and hit notifications for that one. On Mondays, we go to a larger audience on various other channels, but if you want to make sure you got this thing 5 days a week, such as today, make sure you follow us on the YouTube. We can use some followers more folks there as well. So thank you so much for that one. Birthdays for today, your today things that you might not have heard. Birthdays for today, for 28th of April, that is Elena Kagan, our Supreme Court Justice, one of our Supreme Court Justices, turning 61 today. There were many rappers to be talked about today. We're going with Too Short to make you feel like you're real old, because he is 55 years old today. And I think he had a tour coming through here last couple of months. So he's still out there making that money, doing his thing. Life's not too short for that guy. He's still making it happen. But he's turning 55 years old today. And the Property Brothers, Drew and Jonathan Scott, famous for just being Drew and Jonathan Scott, the Property Brothers, 43 years old today. There you go. It's also National Superhero Day today. I don't have much on superheroes. It's one of the more innocuous days to pick from the list. And to be honest, we're running behind. It was a really slow, sort of the kind of dragging day as it is. And so we just went with National Superhero Day for that one to celebrate. So celebrate your favorite superhero, whether it is an actual comic style hero, or maybe it's like your mom. Celebrate your mom. Whoever you want to deem a superhero, today is the day to show that love as well. There we go. So yeah, I'm all flustered because I can't see today for some reason. Oh, by the way, farmers can grow corn on every continent except Antarctica. That sounds kind of like yeah, Jay, that seems pretty obvious, but it's not so obvious. It seems that some of the places that corn is grown is not native. For example, Canada, which grows a large supply of corn for its Canadian friends all along the country. Corn is not native there. It was transferred as maize sometime in a time where the colonists were actually making colonies and getting things on. They transferred it as a part of some trade to the Canadians and taught them how to grow corn, just like the original Native Americans taught us, and so on and so forth. But the conditions are ripe, pun intended, for corn to be grown on every continent somewhere, because corn is a staple in many type of diets, except Antarctica, because it's all ice. It's really cold. So there you go. Thank you so much for that internet, because we needed that one. We wrap things up on Thursday, April 28th, 2022. Thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a kind of hit-miss week. We've tried a few new things. We've hit a couple extra buttons. We're mucking around with some stuff, and I've gotten feedback on it. Thank you so much for that. Some things will remain, and some things will go back to the back of my mind where they never should come out in the first place. Thanks so much for live viewing from my mother-in-law, Sharon Green, and my wife, Christine with a K. Have to make sure they get said. And Big O is on the line, taking and also commenting about the trained seals, which would be pretty much kind of there. That, this is where it gets interesting. Dolphins with freaking laser beams is where it starts to get kind of interesting in those cases. So if you're not paying attention because of atrocities, maybe the dolphins swimming around the Black Sea under command of Putin may bring your interest in there, and maybe that will make you care. If you don't care, you may not have a heart, which I'm not sure about that. Stay limber, stay hydrated, stay on task, because we need you to get through all those things that are necessary. That honestly, there's just so many things going on here in the world that we need you to be along with it, including watching this thing right here. We're going to drop this thing up again because of all the heavy things we had a few days ago. If you're looking for someone to talk to, try the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 800-273-8255. Those last four numbers spell out TALK. 800-273-8255 or TALK. It's also found at suicidepreventionlifeline.org. 24 hours a day, speakers in English and Spanish. If you are in need, pick up the phone. If you want to chat with someone, you can reach out to us. Find a friend that you trust and will understand you. Now is not the time. When we know there's still pandemic frustration going on. Fauci may says it's not pandemic full times, but there's still a lot of residuals that are not happening these days. So if you are in need of be in touch with someone, find someone and talk to me. I have been there, and we will talk ourselves down together. In the meantime, in the between time, we're going to try to get this thing one more time tomorrow with a little less stress, a little less fuss. Big blowout 10th birthday parties do kind of, take a toll on you. And with JJ turning 10, it was all, pizza and cupcakes and cookies and skee ball and all that stuff. So thank you so much for all the love you sent for her as well. Thank you for the love you're showing to me for getting up and doing this. Love to all you guys out there. If you're watching this in the future, just pop a comment so we can give you your props in the future. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to go make the money to pay for all the pizza and the skee ball and all the cupcakes that were devoured yesterday. You go do what you do, and we'll be back tomorrow for one more day of things you might not have heard.